The Portland Trailblazers have been very disappointing this season, to say the least, with a record of 32-44 as I'm recording this. They are currently 12 games under 500, and over the past 11 games, they have went 1-10 and have basically completely fallen out the play-in race. And with them playing for basically nothing at this point, them probably even trying to lose more games to get a higher draft pick, Portland has basically completely shut down Damian Lillard and some other players on this team for the rest of the season. The future looks very strange for the Portland Trailblazers because of this team. They're very young, having the 8th youngest average age on this team, but at the same time, their best player is 32, trying to win a championship with Damian Lillard. And Yusuf Nurkic isn't like super young anymore. Jeremy Grant isn't super young anymore. Like their like better part of their roster is older, but everyone else is super young. It's very strange. And man, if Portland did not have Dame this season, they are definitely in the mix with, Houston, San Antonio, Detroit. They are in the mix for getting Vic right now. They're still winning games, but not enough games because the entire roster around him isn't very good. But they're also not being bad enough to the point where they're like top 4 pick projected. But they're also winning enough to where they're just outside, which is like just a bad spot you don't want to be in. It just really does seem like the Trailblazers don't know what they're doing right now. Like they don't know if they want to go young, or they don't want to win a championship with Dame, or they want to do both, which is kind of weird. Like I don't know, because if you have Dame on your team and you still want to rebuild and like have him mentor your guys, he's still in his prime. He's not at the point of his career where he's trying to mentor players. He's trying to win at least something. Maybe not win a championship, but at least don't be the 13th seed and be out of contention in the playoffs and just be getting shut down towards the end of the season. And Dame still has multiple years of his contract left, so it's not like it's on his last year. He's going to leave in the offseason or something. And his team has just failed to build a competent team around him ever since CJ McCollum left. And even with CJ, those teams weren't like blowing you away or anything. Like they had that one conference finals run, but that was like very underdog type. Like no one really expected them to get there. It was a very nice run, but once they did get there and face the Warriors, we all know who was going to win that series. So what should Portland do? Well, in my opinion, I think they should trade Dame. I think that's a pretty obvious choice. Dame doesn't fit the timeline at all on this team. He's trying to win. This team looks like they're trying to rebuild and be young. But I just don't. The relationship between Dame and the Trailblazers is very close. And I just don't see Dame ever leaving and ever suiting up for a different team. Just because, it's kind of like his brand to be like this loyal guy for his franchise. But on a smaller scale, San Antonio did kind of do this last offseason, trading DeJounte Murray to the Atlanta Hawks to go full rebuild, because DeJounte Murray was keeping them in contention for the play-in, but they weren't ever like a lock for the play-in. Like they were always like, we got to fight our way in with the other teams. But they also weren't like ever so bad to the point where it's like, yeah, they'll have a top 4 pick for sure this season. So they went ahead and they were like, DeJounte Murray, we love you. You're a good player for us, but we decide it's better for our franchise to move on. You can go you can go somewhere where you have a better chance to win something big, while we can go full rebuild because obviously you didn't fit the timeline of our very young roster. That's what I think they should do with Damian Lillard. Now, are they going to do it? No, most likely not. The way Dame has talked on many interviews, many podcasts, it really does seem like Dame will be a Portland Trailblazer for life. It would be insane for me to ever see the day where he's on a new team. And the thing about Damian Lillard and him getting traded is Portland would most definitely have to come to him and ask if he's okay with being traded and everything. It would be the biggest slap in the face if they went and traded him behind his back. No communication at all. With everything he's done for the franchise, there's going to be some sort of communication there. And if they ask Dame, are you okay if we trade you wherever, whatever team, he's probably going to say no. Like, he wants to be there on probably because of multiple reasons, not just basketball. And I can understand that to an extent, but it's just, he's like, is it kind of weird to say that he might be holding this franchise back from doing something? Like, it's almost like to a point where they're holding each other back. That's probably a better way to phrase it. I think they're both holding each other back. Because to say Dame was a problem in Portland, that would be a huge slap in the face. But I think they're just holding each other back. Portland holding Dame back for basically his whole career without building a competent roster around him and not really allowing him to win with a good team around him or get a shot at a championship with a good team around him. And Dame kind of holding this team back from just going full rebuild. And like I was alluding to, it's basically part of Dame's brand to like stay loyal, don't run from the grind and everything. Like that's kind of his thing that everyone knows him for. And if he were to just get traded to go somewhere else and it, like, let's say it doesn't work, he's gonna be clowned forever for it. And the thing about Dame that is so tough for him, well, I don't really think he cares, but like it's just tough, a situation is tough, is because if Dame does get traded, he requests a trade, he goes somewhere, and he doesn't work out, he's gonna get clowned for it. He's gonna be like, you tried to run from the grind going against everything you stood for, and it still didn't even work out for you. And let's say it does work out, he wins a championship, multiple championships or something, and he's like alongside a star or something, people are gonna call him like a sellout. He was, you know, doing the same thing, running from the grind. He's doing what he stood against, and he was ring chasing. But if he stays in Portland and does everything that he stands for, he's loyal to the team, he's very, you know, pro Portland Trailblazers all the way, he's always going to be there with them, people are going to clown him still because he's on a team that doesn't know what to do with him and doesn't know how to build a good team around him. So Damon's in a position where criticism is going to come wherever. So at this point, his decision doesn't really matter. Criticism is going to happen either way. And it's really just what's best for the team and Dame. So yes, I do think they should trade Dame. Will it happen? Probably not. Like, I give it like a 85% chance he's going to be on this team still for the remainder of his career, at least going into next season or something. The only way I can see him being not on this Trailblazers team for his whole career, if there's like some huge fallout like between him and the team, like something crazy happens. And honestly, I wouldn't have a problem with him doing all this, like staying on the team, being loyal, being a for-lifer in Portland, if the team just wasn't so bad around him. Like, at least when Tim Duncan and Kobe and everything, like when they were for-lifers for their franchises, they had their downs and everything. At least Kobe did. They had their down seasons for sure, where the roster was bad, even Kobe requesting a trade. But they definitely redeemed themselves and built something up. And even prior to those bad teams, they still had good rosters around him. Even though I probably was more around Shaq and Kobe instead of just Kobe. But it was still a good team. But for Dame, he's never really had that like really good team where he definitely had a shot that year. That's probably my biggest reasoning on why I think they should trade him, because they haven't shown they can build around him ever. They just had like okay teams that like are good, probably okay to good teams, and he's been pretty good. Like, and in the playoffs, it is most definitely not Dame's fault why they're not going far. That man Dame is one of the greatest playoff performers ever. He had one bad series, and it was going against a very good defense. Everything else, he's just been incredible. Now, if Dame does get traded, where can he go that actually makes sense for both sides, not just some Dame to the Lakers for Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, so not some dumb trade that doesn't make any sense. Like a real trade that I think it could actually happen and like actually works out for both sides for what both teams would want to do. And I am aware these are very unlikely to happen. I'm just saying, just throwing these out here, I think this would be a pretty nice fit if it were to happen. Or maybe not even a nice fit, but it's definitely possible. And I'm not sure if this is possible contractually or anything like that. I'm just throwing these out here like just off the top of the head. Toronto, I think, could be a nice landing spot with Toronto trading some young pieces and draft picks. I think Toronto's always been buyers, so I think they would definitely be calling up Portland for Dame. And I think if they throw in a decent amount of draft picks, some young players, I don't know if Scotty Barnes would have to be in that deal, but I think Toronto definitely would want Dame. But I don't think Toronto, I don't know, because Toronto is like good, but they're not like, if you add Dame on the team, they're automatic championship contenders. I think they would know that, so I don't know if they would just go ahead and trade a lot of their future for Dame. So yeah, I think Toronto could work out, but I don't know if that would be a very like prime position to win a championship if you were to go there. Now, something that I would actually love to see that I think would be really fun to watch is him getting traded to OKC. OKC's been holding on to these draft picks for so long now, and they're just letting them pile up and pile up and pile up. And you know who would want draft picks? A rebuilding team, and that team being Portland. If they were to go full rebuild and they get these nice draft picks from OKC, all these draft picks that they've been storing for years and years now. That would be a nice package for Portland, and include some young players as well, not just pure draft capital, but like also some young players. Josh Giddey might have to be in that deal. I don't think Jalen Williams or anything like that, or Shea or anything that would be in the deal. But like Giddey, some other guys, and some draft picks, I think that would be, might be a little enticing for Portland. To have Dame in OKC, him and Shea, Jalen Williams, like this team would be so nice. Chet coming back next season, like, oh, that team would be so nice. Like Dame actually having a backcourt mate that can play defense, like instead of him having to play defense against the opponent's best guard, just put Shea on him and have Dame just worry about his offensive production. That is like such a dream scenario for OKC. Now, is OKC gonna accept Dame after he walked them off in 2019, I believe? I don't know. OKC fans, I think you're going to accept Dame if he comes over to your team. Him alongside Shea, that would be nasty. Even if he walked all off a couple years back in the playoffs. But yeah, I think that team would be very nice. And the fact that OKC is already in the play-in, they have no Chet, they're still young, and they would get Dame, that would just be so good. This would definitely be a all-in championship run for OKC. Shea's hitting his peak. Dame is at his peak right now. Pair them alongside each other. Probably pick up some other pieces around them and just pair these guys up. Go full championship run. I think OKC can really pull that off. That would be an insane deal and might be a very, very, very nice pairing. And I don't really see a scenario where that pairing isn't good. And you might be wondering, Portland was a pretty young team. I thought you wanted him off of that team because they're young and trying to rebuild. And OKC is also a young team. Well, the thing about OKC, they have their guys that they're going to develop already, and they are developing them very nicely, and they're still winning games. You put Dame on this roster with a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in his prime, or entering his prime, I think that team is still very good, even if they're pretty young still. Last team on here that I don't know if this is actually possible at all. I don't know if Portland would accept this deal. I might have just been hearing about it online and everything. And honestly, every team is involved with Miami. Like, anytime a big name player is involved in trades, Miami fans are always the ones that are like, we can get him for a Tyler Hero and some draft picks. So, I guess Miami, I'm just putting them on here just because of the fact that if they were to pair Dame with Jimmy Butler and Bam, that trio would be nasty. Jimmy Butler can score you 20 points a night, play good defense in the perimeter. Dame can go out and score 30. Bam is a defensive player of the year type player. Like, they just would be such a nice starting five. And Dame could actually bring some half-court offense to this team that they so desperately need. Now, what would this package be? I kind of mentioned it earlier. Like, I guess it would be just draft picks, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson or something, Max Strus. I don't know. Miami, I don't think they have enough to offer for Damian Lillard. Like, we need to look at Damian Lillard. This is who we're talking about, an all-NBA type of player. I don't know if they have enough to trade for him. But who knows? Dallas Mavericks got Kyrie Irving for Spencer Dinwiddie and DFS, and some draft picks. So, I don't know. Maybe Dame is more acquirable than I think, but I don't know if Miami has that type of package to get Dame. But if they were, that would be really nasty. But let's go into the more realistic scenario. Portland does actually keep Dame, which is, a more likely scenario. Like I said, Dame looks like to be a Portland Trailblazer for lifer. What do they have to do to make Dame's life at least a little bit easier? Wanting to at least make the playoffs, not be the 13th seed and be out of the play-in race. Like, what team or what does this team have to do to at least do something positive for Dame? Well, first things first, I think with the first player that's got to go, Jusuf Nurkic. I like Nurkic. He's a fan favorite. Dame loves Nurkic. Like, that would be definitely tough for this team to get rid of him. But I just don't see him fitting alongside Dame. He's just another offensive center who doesn't bring much defense. And I think when you have Dame on your roster, you got to have a big body center who will go out there and also stay healthy. Nurkic is very rarely healthy. You need a healthy center who's going to play defense, and you don't really need an offensive-minded big too much when you have Dame scoring 30 points a night almost. Another player I think they probably have to get rid of, and I think it'd be smart to get rid of, but I don't think they will, Anthony Simons. He's young now, so I think they can get a lot out of him as of right now, trade-wise. So Anthony Simons, he's basically like a lower tier Damian Lillard with his play style and everything. Not nowhere near the level, but I'm just saying his play style. And you don't really need that alongside Dame. You need a player that's gonna play good perimeter defense, and you can put on the opponent's best guard and not have to worry to put Dame on him or something, or Anthony Simons. Like Anthony Simons, Damian Lillard backcourt, that is just a defensive like liability every night. Like, they're not defending no one on the perimeter at all. Some players I do think they should probably go out and keep that I do pretty much like on this team. I don't know, on like a championship run, but I think they can be pretty decent players on a competent team. Matisse Thybulle, I liked how he's played. Cam Reddish, Nazir Little, Justin Winslow. Those guys I think are pretty nice, solid players. They can be, you know, just those guys that might win you a game or two during the regular season, that are just really nice and are like specialists on the basketball court. Like Matisse will go out there and lock up. Cam Reddish has been pretty good. Nazir Little will hit a couple shots and play some good defense. Like, I think those guys are pretty much nice, solid role players that you can put alongside Dame, win you a couple games. And if they free up some space with Nurkic and Simons gone, those being, I believe, behind Dame, of course, the biggest contracts on their team, they can go out and get, maybe not a secondary star, but just get those nice, like, above average role players to fit alongside Dame. They can, I mean, take like a Luka Doncic route last year, where they just had, before Jalen Brunson was an all-star level type player, just solid role players all around him. Like, they went to the Western Conference Finals not just because they had a secondary star. It's because Luka had a solid team around him and was able to just do crazy things with them. Now, Dame has expressed his disagreement with ring culture and everything, and I fully agree. I love listening to Dame on podcasts and interviews. I very much agree with a lot of things he says, but there's no way he's just okay with being on like a bad team like this. Like, I know he might not love the ring culture idea where it's like, if you don't win a ring, you suck type of thing. But also, their team does suck right now. Like, there's no way around it. Like, this team is not good, and they're not winning games. Of course, it's not because of Dame, but there's no way he's okay with being on this type of team, kind of wasting his time being a basketball player in his prime. And with him saying all that, I do agree, but at the same time, I also might get the feeling that, like, Portland doesn't feel any pressure to make moves because they're like, well, Dame is happy still, so why should we go out and make hard decisions? Like, that's kind of the type of thing. Like, they're still racking in money, they're racking in tickets purely because of Dame. Like, if Dame wasn't there, who knows where they would be financially, but Dame is racking in tickets every night because everyone likes seeing Dame. He's an all-time player. Like, who doesn't want to see Dame? But honestly, the Blazers, what's next for them? I don't really know. They're in a very weird spot. But what I do think they're going to do is just keep Dame, be mediocre next year, and probably for the rest of his career, unfortunately. Now, what I would do if I was a GM, obviously I'm not qualified to be a general manager in the NBA. This is a very simplified version of GMing. But I would just go out and trade Simons and Nurkic, or at least let them walk or something to free up cap space. And their contract isn't expired until a couple more years, so that'll be a while. But I would trade them and just get some nice, solid role players around Dame and see what he can do with that, because obviously this isn't working. They're very young, so maybe even trade the young pieces. They're probably valuable, but I don't know, because I don't know what the Blazers even want to do. I don't know if they want to rebuild or win a championship. As of right now, they're very young, so I'd assume a rebuild, so I'd assume trade Dame. I don't know. This team is just very weird. I don't know if they're going to trade Dame or trade everyone else. That's kind of, at this point, like, either that or they're going to be mediocre to bad. Like, that's basically trade everyone or trade Dame if you want a real direction. But what's most likely going to happen is they're going to be keeping everyone the same and be mediocre to bad. That's probably what's next for the Trailblazers. And yeah, that's kind of all I got to say. They're a very weird team. Very disappointing to see. This is how Dame's career is most likely going to be for the rest of it. Even though he's dropping 71 points, like, it just sucks. I wish Dame could have won a championship. I'm talking like Dame's career is over, but it's obviously not. But I just wish I could see Dame win a championship in his prime and leading a team to it. which I know he's fully capable of doing as well. So if you liked the video, hit the like button down below, subscribe button, notification bell so you can be notified as soon as I upload. If you agree, disagree, or you're on the fence with what I'm saying, put it down in the comments below. Let's have a conversation. Be respectful, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.